The war in Ukraine is about to enter its 12th month, but the situation on the ground is even more complicated than when the war started on February 24. On the 339 road day of the conflict, most of the fighting occurs in the Donbass, in the towns of Bakhmut and Avdiivka. The Russian military is suffering heavy casualties on the ground. Most of the Russian fatalities are taking place around the towns of Bakhmut and Avdiivka, in the Donbass. Moscow has been trying to capture both since the summer, but has failed to achieve anything more than advancing a few miles and capturing some small settlements on the outskirts of the cities. The Russian private military company Wagner Group has been taking the lead on the attack against Bakhmut, with the Russian military relegated to a secondary role. But the Wagner Group mercenaries are suffering heavy losses. According to the U.S. intelligence community, more than 1,000 former convicts recruited by the Wagner Group have been killed around Bakhmut only in the past few days. The U.S. assesses that there are between 40,000 and 50,000 Wagner Group mercenaries fighting in Ukraine right now, the majority of whom are former convicts who enlisted to the private military company after the Kremlin introduced a law that allowed inmates to serve in Ukraine in exchange for their freedom. The Ukrainians are using all the tricks in the playbook to stop the Russian forces from taking the town. Ukrainian snipers are turning the town into an urban nightmare for the Russian forces. Beyond the obvious physical danger to ground troops, snipers have a big psychological effect on an infantry unit as it never knows if it is safe or not. The Russian forces are also suffering from the elements on the outskirts of Bakhmut. Moscow has sent thousands of mobilized reservists, under-equipped and ill-supported, to the front lines. The result is troves of Russian troops freezing to death. The Russian forces are losing an average of 500 men killed every day, with many more wounded. Moscow is drawing from its recently mobilized reservists and Wagner Group mercenaries to support the offensive operations in the area. For the Russian leadership, these are cheap, expendable troops, especially Wagner Group's former convicts. In the last few days, the Russian forces have made some advances on the eastern outskirts of Bakhmut. An intense battle for the town has been taking place since June, but the fighting had mostly taken place in the open country that surrounds the town. However, now combat has been entering urban areas, presenting a whole different problem set for the two sides. Russian infantry likely now has a foothold in the eastern industrial areas of the town and at times has advanced into the residential district of the city. Street fighting is ongoing. The war has seen little protracted large